Authorities sounding the alarm over what they call a silent pandemic of e-cigarette and vape use among Filipino youth.
Tobacco firms have upgraded their marketing strategies, targeting the younger generation.
As the agency confirms that it has recorded the country's first vape-related death.
We are ready to back off now.
The fight for a tobacco-free generation begins with us, the young, the bold, and of course, the informed.
Ang hiling namin sa Department of Health, wag na nating paabutin yung matagal na panahon na yun. Ngayon pa lang, now na. Kayong mga kabataan, wag nyo nang antayin na umabot kayo sa upuan namin ito na nagsasalita pa rin kayo about advocacy. Let's end it now. Let's make Philippines tobacco-free and vape-free. Maraming salamat.
Isa lang ang pinaka-importante sa ngayon, hindi ho tayo pwedeng manahimik. Kailangan ho tayo magsalita. No? Pwedeng masusuppress tayo, tatakutin tayo, i-intimidate tayo, pero hindi po pwedeng matakpan ang ating bibig. Kasi sa oras na tayo po ay manahimik, then mawawala po lahat ng karapatan natin. So we need to fight for our rights.
Because today is a momentous day for young people across the Philippines. Because the Positive Youth Development Network, together with young people from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, are proud to present the Back Off Now movement. To back off now. Back off from our lives, back off from our communities, and back off from our future.
You need to back up now, get out. Tobacco ay mapanlilaw. It clouds your mind. Tinutukso, ginugulo, laging tinutuliro. Ikaw ang mauupos, upos, pos. You need to back up now, get out. Di na muling malilinaw. Let you blow our minds. Di na magpapatukso, di na magpapaloko. Inyong tactics we oppose. You need to back up now, to back up now, to back up, back up, back up. You need to back up now, to back up now, to back up, back up, back up. You need to back up.
We are ready to back up now.
We launched a movement, and now we will lead it.
The Back Off Now, in schools, in policies, in every corner of the country.
This is a take back, and it starts with us. Oh, 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 oh. You need to back up now.
Magandang gabi po sa ating mga manonood at nakikinig sa atin ngayong Huwebes. Hindi pa po ba malapit na ang Valentine's Day at isa sa mga pinakaayaw natin ay ang mga manloloko. Alam nyo ba na ang panloloko ay hindi lamang ginagawa ng inyong mga ex? Ginagawa rin siya ng mga pumapalibot sa atin, lalo-lalo na ang mga kabataang tulad natin. Tonight, medyo magiging seryoso lang tayo ng konti because pag-uusapan natin ang tinatawag na illicit trade. Ano nga bang ibig sabihin nito? The tobacco industry claims that they are victims daw ng smuggling. They say high taxes are killing them. They are crying foul. But ngayong gabi, we will explore kung ano ba talaga ang nangyayari. Holding a deadly industry's claims to the spotlight, tututukan natin, and asking, sila nga ba talaga ang biktima? Or meron pa bang something else no, na nangyayari behind the scenes? Napaka-interesting nito. At kung iisipin mo, para siyang suspense no, or thriller. Kaya samahan niyo kami sa ating live this evening at lahat tayo mag-imbestiga, no, magnilay-nilay at ating iisipin sino ba talaga ang tunay na kontrabida sa mga kabataan at sa public health ng Pilipinas. Ngayong gabi kasama natin ang ating mga naglalakihang guests, no? Kasama dyan ang ating researcher from University of Bath, kung saan kanyang ating pag-uusapan pa, kasama niya ang newly released report na tinatawag na Complicit in Illicit, kung saan pag-uusapan natin ang mga findings tungkol sa kanilang investigation sa illicit trade dito no sa Pilipinas. Kaya wag na tayong mag-wait pa no. I know you're very excited na pakinggan si Dr. Alan Gallagher of University of Bath for his presentation. Go ahead, Alan.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Vaughn. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Alan Gallagher from the Tobacco Control Research Group at the University of Bath in the UK. And I'm really pleased to be with you all to talk about a new report by STOP, a global tobacco industry watchdog. The report summarizes recent evidence on tobacco industry activity in the Philippines, which I think is really important for you all to hear. So let's jump in. Next slide, please. So let's start with a little bit of background. In recent years, smoking rates in the Philippines have stopped reducing. This is bad from a public health perspective, as it means more harm to people's health, but it should also mean more income for the government because people pay tax on tobacco products. However, despite the number of smokers no longer going down, government income from tax has also reduced. One explanation for this is that people are now smoking more illegal cigarettes, in other words, cigarettes that have ended up on the market without the right amount of taxes being applied to them. Now, tobacco companies are arguing that this is happening because tobacco taxes in the Philippines are too high, and so the government should make cigarettes cheaper so that less people buy them illegally. However, the Filipino Policy Action Group, Action for Economic Reforms, or AER, has looked at the Philippines' illicit market and found that the amount of illicit cigarettes is actually different city by city. Now, this is really interesting because the tax rate is the same across the whole country. So this tells us that the causes of illicit trade must be more complex than just taxes. So this new report explores this further, looking at evidence by both AER and Economics for Health, which is a research group in the United States, to try and better understand the tobacco market in the Philippines. So let's then take a look at the evidence from the report. Next slide, please. So firstly, cigarettes are being sold at very low prices, particularly in sari-sari stores across the country. This is bad news for a few reasons. Firstly, it means the cigarettes are a lot cheaper than they should be, which makes it easier for people to start and continue smoking, including young people who have the most to lose if they start smoking. But it also tells us that lots of cigarettes are being sold without full taxes being applied to them. We know this because the cost for cigarettes is much lower than cigarettes where all of the taxes have been paid. Next slide, please. Now, if we take an even closer look at prices, the evidence starts to raise suspicions about tobacco companies. So the lowest price that cigarettes can be sold for is decided by the Bureau of Internal Revenue, or BIR, and this price is known as the floor price. Now, the floor price is based on a number of things, but one of these is the cost of making cigarettes. And this information actually comes from the tobacco companies. This all makes sense so far, but where it gets interesting is that tobacco companies have actually been claiming that it's getting cheaper for them to make cigarettes in recent years. Now, not just a little bit cheaper, but a lot cheaper, with some products sold in the Philippines supposedly now costing more than 80% less to make between a 1-year period. Costs going down by that much over such a small amount of time seems really odd and may indicate that tobacco companies are actually claiming the products are cheaper to make so that governments will set a lower floor price, meaning the products can then be sold at a lower cost. which then means lower taxes too. This again makes it easier for people to start and keep smoking, which is really important for the companies if they want to be able to stay in business. Next slide, please. Now, AER's research has also looked at whether cigarette packs in the Philippines have tax stamps on them. Tax stamps are put on products to show that those products have paid the right amount of tax, and the Bureau of Internal Revenue is able then to analyse these stamps. So what the AER team did was collect cigarette packs from hundreds of sari-sari stores across the country, collecting thousands of packs, which we then sent to the BIR for analysis. So what did we find? Well, depending on the city, up to 14% of packs with tobacco company brand names on them either had a fake tax stamp or no tax stamp at all, meaning the products were illicit. Now, it's important to say here that just because a pack featured a registered brand, that doesn't automatically mean that it was made by the company that owns that brand. That's because the products could be counterfeits, meaning they're made illegally and then the brand name is being used without the permission of a tobacco company that owns the brand. So with these products with fake or no tax stamps, we can't say for sure if the tobacco companies are responsible for this or not. So what this leaves us with is a few options. Either tobacco companies are not protecting the brand names as they are easily counterfeited across the country, or the products are made by the companies but without the right amount of tax being paid, meaning the companies are directly contributing to illicit trade. Either way, the outcome is that the cigarettes are cheaper, which increases consumption and also harms. It also means that consumers are buying and retailers are selling illegal products, often likely without even knowing it. Next slide, please. So now let's look at the evidence from Economics for Health, which focuses on something called overshifting. Put simply, this is where tobacco companies increase prices to align with tax increases, but where the price actually increases by more than what the tax is responsible for. So the price shifts over the amount that it needs to, which is why we call it overshifting. And there's actually evidence of this happening in low and high income countries across the world. So why then do companies do this? Well, it's a way for them to blame price increases on taxes, tricking consumers into thinking that government policy is responsible for price increases when actually the companies are increasing prices themselves in order to make more money. And so Economics for Health have found evidence of this happening in the Philippines. Next slide, please. So since 2020, the most popular brands in the Philippines, both the cheapest and most premium brands, have went up in price by more than what would be required by tax increases or inflation. So what does that then tell us? Well, firstly, tobacco companies want to increase profits when they can, and so tax increases then become a cover for them doing this. They then essentially blame the tax increases for the increased price rather than admit that they're increasing the price themselves. The same companies that claim taxes make cigarettes too expensive are themselves actually willing to drive up the cost of their products to make more profit. So if we believe tobacco companies when they say that prices drive illicit trade, the companies themselves are also driving illicit trade by increasing their own prices. So the question then becomes, is it better for products to be taxed more, which create income for the government that can go towards causes that benefit society, or for the industry to push up prices with the industry profiting solely from it? I would say that the first of these is a much better outcome. Next slide, please. So then let's look at some of the common claims made by tobacco companies in the Philippines and see how they hold up against the evidence we've just went through, as well as global evidence. So companies claim that tax is a key driver of illicit trade because it increases prices. But as we've just covered, the companies themselves are actually increasing their own prices for further profit. If we look globally, we actually find that countries with higher tobacco taxes tend to have lower levels of illicit trade. This is because whether people buy legal or illegal cigarettes has a lot more to do with things other than just price. It also depends on supply and enforcement. Essentially, how easily available illicit cigarettes are is unsurprisingly a big driver of whether people will buy them or not. And so countries that have effective tobacco taxes tend to also have better enforcement and defences against illicit trade than countries who don't have much interest in regulating tobacco products. So if a government isn't interested in the price of tobacco products, they're also more likely to not be interested in reducing illicit tobacco. So the industry's argument becomes really questionable when you look at the bigger picture. Similarly, the industry claims that it is solely a victim of illicit trade, but as we've covered here, industry business practices could well be a driver of a problem currently in the Philippines. Tobacco companies have clear incentives to facilitate illicit trade, as it increases access to addictive products that the companies can then continue selling. Ultimately, if tobacco companies can't get new, younger users to smoke, it becomes harder for them to profit from tobacco as current users gradually, unfortunately, die. Again, when we look at the global picture, tobacco companies have a long history of driving illicit trade. In the 1990s, millions of tobacco company documents were released which showed that companies were actively driving illicit trade in regions across the world in order to enter new markets and to increase sales, with this leading to various lawsuits, legal agreements, and in some cases, tobacco companies actually pleading guilty. So I think it's really important to not take everything these companies say as being truthful, and instead we should look at the information available to us and reach our own conclusions. Next slide, please. So to both policymakers and everyone listening now, it's really important to be aware that tobacco companies often make misleading narratives, especially about tobacco taxation and illicit trade, and the Philippines is no exception. Instead of trusting what these health-harming and profit-driven companies say, we should independently reach our own conclusions, drawing from both national and global data. And when we do that, we see there's a wealth of data on tobacco tax, which proves it's one of the best ways to reduce the harms of tobacco, as well as of creating government revenue that can go toward things that actually benefit rather than harm society. Next slide, please. So I'll finish just by encouraging you all to look at the report and share and talk about these issues. And in that spirit, I look forward to the rest of the discussion ahead. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Allen. So Dr. Allen Gallagher is the co-director of Tobacco Control Research Group at the University of Bath in UK. Napaka-insightful actually, no, yung naging discussion ngayon kasi ito yung mga insights na hindi naman napag-uusapan palagi, no, when it comes to tobacco control sa Pilipinas and even sa kaso ng illicit trade, no, na may mga nangyayari pala behind the scenes, no, na akala natin parang biktima yung lahat at talagang illegal na trade lang ito, no, pero marami palang players at manipulasyon, no, ang nangyayari behind the scenes. And very interesting itong i-deep dive pa natin, no, pag-usapan pa natin ng mas malalim ngayong gabi together with our panel members. No. So of course, we would like to call back our speaker, si Dr. Allen Gallagher of University of Bath, no, the co-director for Tobacco Control Research Group. Makakasama din natin ngayon ang Executive Director ng Imagine Law, Attorney Sofia Monica San Luis. Good evening po, Attorney Soph. Makakasama din natin ang Executive Director ng Positive Youth Development Network, Jenny Ann Magguad. At siya ang talagang one of the leaders ng Tobacco Now movement sa Pilipinas and really pushing for this advocacy towards our young people in the Philippines. And of course, Pia Rodrigo from Action for Economic Return. Si Pia ang ating advocacy and comms lead who can talk about yung recently released na AER report as well. And of course, yours truly, Bon Tanchuan, the campaign lead for Tobacco Now. So magandang gabi, good evening, Allen. Medyo multilingual tayo ngayong gabi, no? Kasi we want to also make things very easy to understand para sa ating mga audiences, and most of them are young people. So maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig at panonood tonight. Of course, at the same time, I can't wait no na deep dive na tayo dito sa ating issue tonight. So sino nga ba ang tunay na sus? And hopefully we can be able to at least have our own conclusions, no, kumbaga at the end of the day. Para siyang yung cliffhanger sa mga series na hindi natin sasabihin directly kung sino nga ba ang mga, mga evil dyan, but kayo nang bahala na humusga after this discussion. Let's dive right into it, no? So, for Dr. Allen naman, no, the report highlights na yung industriya or the industry claims to be a victim of smuggling. Yet the findings suggest that their products may be leaking to the illicit market. From a global perspective, as a global researcher who have really seen so much across different countries, does the evidence suggest that companies are maybe unable to control their supply chains or that they just chose not to?
Great, thanks, Fawn. That's a great question. So I'd say it's not always one or the other, in that it surely can be difficult to manage supply chains at the scale we're talking about with transnational tobacco companies, but also we know certainly from the industry's own documents and words that tobacco companies have spent decades driving illicit trade of their own products, with this even being a really core part of a business strategy actually. So much so, the companies have used specific terms to refer to illicit trade so as to try and conceal their involvement in these activities. So I think it's really hard to kind of trust these companies when the focus appears to be on lobbying against government policies instead of doing more to stop their own products from ending up on the illicit market. So I've previously looked at data on the illicit market globally and actually found that the majority of product actually stemmed from the supply chains of transnational tobacco companies rather than coming from other sources such as, say, counterfeiters, which is where the industry narratives usually focus on. We also know that industry-funded estimates of illicit trade often tend to be misleading and present a very different picture of the problem when compared to independent estimates. So really, ultimately, we're talking about the world's most widely smuggled legal consumer product, and the companies that make these products are continually presenting misleading narratives and data in relation to illicit trade. So to some extent, whether these companies are intentionally driving illicit trade or failing to competently address it, the outcome is really the same. These companies are much more of a barrier to solving the problem than they are a solution. And so it's really important for governments to hold these companies to account. And I think kind of the public, everyone on this call today, have a role to play too by looking critically at what these companies say and relying on independent evidence instead of trusting companies which clearly don't want to take any responsibility for illicit trade or the harms that the products cause.
Ayan. Thank you, Dr. Allen. So may dalawa akong quick takeaways doon, guys, no? So yung number one, dapat magbasa tayo, no? Let's do our own investigation. Sa age pa naman ng fake news, misinformation, and disinformation ngayon, no? We shouldn't just trust yung itong mga mensaheng ating nare-receive lagi, no? And let's do our own reading, our own research. And number two, dapat we have to be more aware, no? We have to siguro be more conscious doon sa mga ating nababasa, doon sa ating mga pinapaniwalaan, no? So thank you for such a very insightful answer, Dr. Allen. And last pala, no, remember na dapat wag tayo magpaloko. Nako, malapit na ang Valentine's Day. It's very important na panindigan natin, no, at we'll fight for ourselves, and let's not allow these gaslighters, no, to get the best of us. Ayun, no? So let's move forward. Related din dito, no? Pupunta naman tayo kay Pia. So Pia, related din doon sa AER report na inyong na-release lang, no, a few days or last week lang ata, no, very very recent. Alam naman natin, no, that when the industry cries victim, no, kung nagiging sabi nila victim din daw sila doon sa illicit trade, and they blame taxes, no? They often get support din sa ating mga local sari-sari store owners at kahit sa mga LGUs. From your experience working in the Philippines, no, and working with our communities, in our local communities, how does this narrative affect the small vendors selling illicit products as well?
Thank you, Bon. So we can't definitively say whether or not these small vendors know that their products are illicit. No, that wasn't part of our study, but definitely for us, the small stores, hindi sila dapat yung held accountable for illicit trade. We really need to focus on the big manufacturers, the tobacco companies who do the large scale smuggling. And in line with the stop report, which we're talking about today, we need to look into their possible complicity in these practices. So, how can we catch the big fish? Kumbaga, we really suggest a track and trace system, as mentioned by Alan earlier. So this way, that the tobacco with counterfeit tax stamps can be called out, and the government can really be better equipped to investigate where they come from, who made them, how were they smuggled into the Philippines. Actually, there was a law that was passed last February in the 19th Congress that mandates a track and trace system. But the tobacco industry, which has notoriously all around the world co opted these track and trace systems and involved themselves in them, they've even sold their own products to governments in Europe despite the clear conflict of interest. No, they were also involved in the crafting of that law, and they removed important language which maintained the independence of a track and trace system here in the Philippines. So that is our criticism of that law. And our call is, if we're going to put in place a track and trace system, no one who has affiliation with the tobacco industry should be part of it. So it should be fully independent so that we can avoid what happens even in, the bigger countries in Europe where the tobacco industry tries to find their way to get control of the supply chain, because in the end it's within their interest then to take control and to have those numbers, those estimates, which they can possibly inflate. They can overestimate the numbers or the data on illicit trade to argue against raising tobacco taxes. So that's the playbook, or that's what they have done in the past, and we really want to avoid that.
Thank you, Pia, no, for emphasizing further the bigger tactics that have been implemented mostly behind the scenes, no, and the deeply embedded manipulation tactics, no, that they have been doing, and these are all actually based on literature in historical data, no. So napaka hindi ito haka-haka lamang, no, na ito ay tested and proven by research. So talagang nakakadismaya, no? Nakakadismaya siya. Given these things, Jen, kay Jen naman tayo pumunta, no? Things that you are hearing. The industry positions apparently cheap cigarettes as, helping the poor consumer. But as a young person, does it feel like talagang help ba ito? Or parang feeling mo baka, baka trap ito talaga, no? How do you feel knowing na itong mga so-called discount is actually a calculated move pala, no? Isang kalkuladong action to keep our generation addicted?
Thanks, Bon. And of course, before anything else, I'd also like to thank Dr. Allen and the Tobacco Research Control Group, no, for the report that they presented. Because, illicit trade, it feels out of touch for us young people and even ordinary civilians. No? It's not something that we will discuss on a regular basis. And because of that, it's so easy for us to believe whatever the narrative that the tobacco industry would say. So if they say that they are the victim, then it's easier for us to believe that, because again, that's something that we always talk about. But because these facts and these evidences were presented, then there's something for us to think about, diba? Na parang, talaga bang victim sila, or talaga bang lowering taxes dapat yung mag-a-address ng issue na to. So I hope the viewers, no, especially the young people watching right now, ito yung pag-isipan natin while listening to this discussion. And I guess to answer yung question ni Von, kung nakikita ko ba as help yung like lowering yung prices, no? of course, I cannot comment on legal matters, but I would say that it is clear that lowering yung prices ng tobacco and nicotine products is in no way helping the poor and the vulnerable. Actually, parang opposite siya. So it's actually taking advantage of their vulnerability. So, and that includes yung kanilang limited access to information and limited resources, diba, to protect themselves. And parang for me, there's no way in saying na yung pag-lower ng prices or yung pagiging pag-make ng mga products na nakaka-harm sa health natin and at the same time drains yung income, di ba, ng mga household. Parang yung gawin mo yung accessible and affordable for the masses and especially for the young people. So that's in no way helping them, di ba? So parang for me, clear yon na indication na yung kagustuhan nilang i-lower yung taxes and eventually lower the prices of these goods, hindi yun out of concern sa mga mahihirap or sa mga kabataan, di ba? So ano nila yon, selfish na para sa kanila yon, di ba? Para ma-secure nila yung customers nila, di ba? So yan. So parang for me as a young person working in the development sector, in the youth development sector in particular, and co-leading the Tobacco Off Now movement, this information actually parang it angers me in a way, but at the same time it also makes me more determined to continue this work and make sure na napoprotektahan natin yung mga kabataan sa ganitong deception. So thanks, Bon.
Grabe. I can feel your passion, Jen, no? At yung fighting spirit talaga. Never talaga yan nawala. And yes, you're right. No? Parang making these accessible, lalo na yung mga product, guys, it doesn't make sense. No? We're talking here directly to the tobacco. Parang kung sinasabi ninyo na ayaw nyong mag-market sa mga kabataan, no? Bakit gagawin yung accessible ang mga produkto ninyo? No? That only gives them more reason to actually try it, diba? At alam naman natin yan, that's simple behavioral economics. At I'm sure you're very conscious about this, no? So, going into the discussion on economics, no? Kasi, diba, parang the industry has been saying, because of, parang kailangan i-lower talaga yung taxes, ganyan-ganyan, kasi it really affects and triggers illicit trade, no? Pakinggan naman natin si Attorney Sov, no, bilang ating in-house lawyer. So the report mentions, no, billions in lost revenue. Para naman sa mga regular na Pilipino, Attorney Sov, no, billions is usually abstract, no? Pakialam ba naman natin kasi napakahirap i-earn yun, no, yung billions and billions of pesos. Pwede po ba ninyong matranslate ito? Can you translate that loss into local terms? So halimbawa, what does that lost tax money mean sa ating mga barangay health centers, sa ating mga lokal na pampublikong ospital, no, or yung ating mga universal healthcare benefits, no, na nakaka-apekto sa mga ordinary families sa Pilipinas?
Yeah. Napakalaking bagay niyan sa mga ordinaryong Pilipino kasi it means less out-of-pocket expenses because of better PhilHealth coverage. It also means that they'll have better and more equipped, well-equipped health facilities kung saan meron na silang MRI at CT scan para hindi na nila kailangan bumiyahe ng napakalayo para lang magpatingin. Meron na silang access sa primary care physicians nila, mas malapit na ito sa kanila. And also, para sa mga barangay health workers natin at sa barangay nutrition scholars na hindi makatarungan ng pasahod ngayon, maaari ring itaas ang sahod nila. So, madami talagang po pwedeng mag-benefit dito. Bukod pa dyan, yung enforcement ng mga existing policies natin on health, mas mapapaganda sana. But more than the lost money, of course, pag pumapasok sa atin yung illicit cigarettes, it's still accessible to children, to the youth, and also other vulnerable people that cannot afford the healthcare costs of using cigarettes and other forms of tobacco and nicotine products. So it's not just the money, it's also still that we're not saving lives because illicit tobacco still makes its way into our shores.
Yes, thank you, Doc Sophie. No, so talagang may impact, of course, no, sa ating, lalong-lalo na sa ating mga komunidad, but more than that, yung hinaing, no, or yung pinag-uusapan nating accessibility in many forms, no. Ito din yung isa sa pinaka malaking problema, no, when we talk about illicit trade. Kaya naman, I'll go back to Dr. Allen. But before that, guys, if you have questions, no, to our audiences, marami kayong nagko-comments. Thank you so much. Some of your comments, you're watching from different places, areas of the Philippines, from Nueva Ecija to even Davao, no, in Mindanao. Someone said that in the recent committee hearing on illicit trade sa Congress, using the track and trace system na ito, nalaman daw na 22 containers ang hindi dumaan sa sistema ng Bureau of Customs. Grabe, no? That's huge, no? 22 containers, hindi lamang yan pakete, no? So talagang tunet-tonelada ang ating tinitignan. At ayun, no? So guys, if you have additional comments and questions, especially for our panel members, please send them sa ating chat, no? So going back, no, to Dr. Allen, the report also uncovers evidence of overshifting in the Philippines, meaning this is where companies raise prices beyond what is required by tax increases to boost profits. Obviously, no, 'di ba, parang that's really the nature of business, while simultaneously crying about high taxes. So how does this specific tactic undermine our public health goal of the tax law? It seems that they are winning on both ends, both profit and even influencing the politics of things, basically political pressure.
Thanks, Vaughn. So I would say that overshifting can turn a really effective policy measure, which is tobacco taxation, into a strategy that companies can use to gain leverage, because really by overshifting, they're trying to convince the public that the government is responsible for the extra costs, when really it's the companies themselves. This then also helps the industry lobby against taxes by telling consumers that if they want cheaper products, they should be against taxes, when really the industry wants to profit from them, and the industry wants to put those profits before the health of the consumers. But I think a key point here is really that overshifting shows that the industry doesn't believe what it tells us. These companies are claiming that prices are too high, but then are making the prices higher themselves. And so what we can really take from that is really kind of the opposite is true. If companies are willing to put the prices up without fear of it impacting illicit trade, government should be willing to do so also, and should do so in order to increase revenue that can go towards things that benefit society, rather than just filling the pockets of these companies.
Yes, no. So again, the economics of things. No, so talagang deserve naman natin after everything na our public health system went through, no, from the tobacco industry, no, from all of these products through the years, victimizing especially the young people. Tama lang, no, na may bumabalik sa ating mga komunidad, may bumabalik sa ating mga health centers, sa ating mga pampublikong ospital. In fact, there is one question from our audience. No? So thank you, Cristel, for asking this. Maybe I'll direct this to Pia, but if anyone is also interested to add to this question, you can also answer after. So Pia, Cristel is asking that if when billions in potential tax revenue go missing due to illicit trade, what does that mean for the future of local health centers and even the public health system that our families rely on? Parang medyo related siya to the question ni Doc Sophie kanina, but siguro gusto lang nila ng mas comprehensive pa na explanation about it, no? Go ahead, Pia.
Right. I think the main concern of advocates is public health, as Attorney Sof mentioned earlier. Half of the revenues of tobacco taxes are earmarked to PhilHealth. So it's really directly for the services of the poorest Filipinos. Aside from the hospital beds, the medicine, the salary of our healthcare workers who are at the front lines. So those foregone revenues are really meant to go towards that. And what the industry is doing is co-opting this narrative, when in fact the revenues that are foregone are meant to kind of allay or to solve the problem that the industry is causing. So I think that's a very interesting narrative that they've started leaving. The reason why, or a lot of a big chunk of the reason why we need these public health funds is because people are dying due to tobacco. So I think we need to reclaim that narrative for the real public health advocates and not let the industry kind of use it for their own gain. Because as you've mentioned throughout this show, no, there are a lot of reasons for them to co-opt the narrative and use it for their self-serving interests.
Yes, no. So I guess guys, no, importante na naintindihan din natin yung parang how our economics play, no, kasi nakakaapekto ito sa ating pang-araw-araw na buhay, no, especially when it comes to our health, no, yung ating access, yung ating PhilHealth sa Pilipinas, no, all of these taxes go to these institutions, nakakatulong sa marami sa atin, no. And imagine, no, lowering something na parang at the end of the day marami din sa atin nagsasuffer from respiratory illnesses, no, coming from yung mga ginagawa ng industriyang ito. So importante lang na this is one of the ways to also hold them accountable. Thank you, Pia. I'll go again to Jen, no, and then Doc Soph, Attorney Soph after. I also know someone na doctor din, Attorney Soph, so pasensya na. To Jen naman, no, now that we try to ensure that the youth understands, no, or at least appreciates what we're discussing, no. So let's be real naman this time about allowance and budget. So halimbawa, no, kung itong mga illicit cigarettes ay hindi nagfa-flood sa market at 5 pesos or 6 pesos per stick, at yung prices naman were strictly at the legal 150 pesos, no, per pack level, paano ito makapagpapabago sa smoking habits ng mga kabataan, lalong-lalo na yung mga gumagamit? At ang affordability ba or ang pagiging cheap ang main reason why youth start or they stay hooked with using tobacco?
Thank you, Von. Ayan. So, of course, yung affordability, hindi lang naman yan yung only reason, no, why young people start using these products. Of course, there's peer pressure, trend hopping, curiosity even. But yung affordability kasi and accessibility, it really plays a big part, especially in the beginning. Diba? Kasi especially for young people, it makes it easier for them to try. Kasi 'di ba parang yung isang stick magkano lang siya. So parang kaya nila yun bilhin using their spare coins, 'di ba? Parang after nila bumili ng snacks or after nila pumasok ng school, meron silang certain money na matitira na pwede nilang gamitin just to try. But yung trying kasi parang yun na of course yung gateway to addiction, 'di ba? And once na na-addict na sila dito sa paggamit ng mga produkto na 'yon, yung mga spare coin na dati ginagamit lang nila para mag-try or para bumili ng isang stick, parang magto-turn 'yon into yung buong allowance na nila gagamitin nila para makabili ng isang pack or like ng new vape, 'di ba? So yun, so parang itong trying talaga, like yun talaga yung gateway ng addiction. Kaya ang gusto nga natin, hindi na nila matry. Like hindi na nila masubukan at all. And while yung increase ng taxes and of course parang in effect mag-i-increase din yung prices ng mga products, hindi yun yung sole parang answer para ma-address yung issue, no, nung addiction ng mga young people sa ganitong produkto. But in a way, parang it serves as like a layer of protection. Kasi 'di ba, parang kung hindi nila afford, hindi nila matatry. So lalo na siguro sa Philippines na yung enforcement kasi is always an issue, 'di ba? Like while yung mga laws natin sasabihin na dapat 18 years old bago ka makabili ng sigarilyo. Pero alam naman natin yung reality on ground. Like even children as young as 10 years old kayang bumili sa tindahan. Sasabihin lang nila, pinapabili to ng tatay ko. Tapos pagbibilan naman sila ng mga tindera, 'di ba? Or like online, makakabili na ng vape, kahit sabihin pang dapat registered, pero alam naman natin pwede kang gumamit ng ibang account. So when issue yung enforcement ng law, so at least kahit papaano kung hindi nila ma-afford, 'di ba? Parang kahit in a way magkakaroon yun ng layer of protection. So parang for us in PYDN and in the Tobacco Off Now movement, parang clear yung position natin na yung raising ng prices and yung stopping ng illicit trades, hindi yan issue na kung sino lang yung dapat maka-afford. Parang hindi yan pagpapunish doon sa mga nakaka-afford lang. But in a way, it's actually protecting the young people.
Yes, no. I couldn't agree more. Tama kasi sa Pilipinas talaga lalong-lalo na yung kumbaga yung tinatawag nating entry point, no, o yung trial phase kumbaga ng mga kabataan. Usually na-entice ka talaga, of course, with other things like flavors, packaging, no, lahat ng ito, social media exposure, pag ginagamit ng influencer, alam na natin tong mga taktikang ito, no, but at the same time, pag ginawa mong accessible, affordable yan, no, talagang you have secured, no, a lifetime of customers already in our young people. At yun yung pinaka nakakagalit actually sa buong usaping ito, no, kasi dehadong-dehado ang mga kabataang Pilipino talaga at the end of the day. Now, actually we're down to our last question, so but before that, let me just read the comments, no. So sabi ni Kat, and illicit trade equals more funds and support for our healthcare system. Sabi naman ni Tanya, agree, dapat super hindi afford ng kabataan ang tobacco at nicotine. And so many other reactions. So keep them coming, guys. If you have additional questions, please comment them also, no? Kasi we will try to, if hindi natin ma-address ngayon, we'll address it in some of our content, in some of our activities pa in the future para ma-answer natin lahat ng inyong mga katanungan. But for Attorney Soph, and then my last question definitely will be for Dr. Allen. No? So for Attorney Soph naman, pinag-uusapan natin itong track and trace, no? At na-mention din siya ng ilan sa ating mga nanonood ngayon, no, sa ating live. So we talk about track and trace as the solution. And locally, why is this so hard to implement? Bakit mahirap itong i-implement sa Pilipinas? Is it a lack of technology, or is it because the villain is powerful enough to block these laws in Congress? What support do our local enforcers need? No? Nandito ang ating mga community patrollers, no, na parang nagka-campaign at naglalobby sa mga probinsya ng Pilipinas. How can we support them, no, and even our local enforcers, law enforcers, to actually catch these fake stamps?
Siguro pag-usapan muna natin kung ano yung magandang track and trace system sana. Kasi yung best practice na track and trace system, which PIA and AER advanced in the last Congress, na unfortunately hindi yun yung pumasa, or a weaker version of that yung pumasa. Dapat mula pabrika hanggang tindahan yung tracing system natin. Ibig sabihin, dinidisclose dapat ng industriya gaano karami yung pinoproduce nila and ano yung intended market nila. And dapat nakikita natin, naglaland ba yung produkto sa intended na market. And dapat yung enforcers natin are equipped para malaman kung yung tax stamps ba ay legitimate. Dapat yung tax stamp natin, may information siya that will allow the government to check kung yung source ba nung produktong yun ay yung dinisclose din ng industriya. So, dapat ganun ka-comprehensive yung tracing system natin. Pero syempre ayaw ng industriya yan kasi hindi na sila makakapag-evade, hindi nila pwedeng i-flood yung ibang mga market. Halimbawa, pwede nilang i-flood yung Indonesia kung saan mas lax yung regulation, knowing that the intended market is the Philippines, which they've done in other countries before. For example, they've done it before in Africa. So, known tactic to ng tobacco industry. Hindi na nila basta-basta magagawa yan kung meron tayong tunay na tracing system. So, ayaw ng industry yan. Pero ang totoo kasi talaga dyan is the industry only cares about illicit trade. It's their friendly monster. They only care about it when they can use it against sin taxes and other strong tobacco regulations. But otherwise, they don't really care. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's causing addiction. It creates markets for them, right? Because children will still be addicted, poor people will still, their addiction can continue, and therefore they will have a market that they can exploit. So they don't really care about it until they can use it against strong tobacco regulation. So that's why we right now, unfortunately, the Congress passed a weaker system because the tobacco industry wanted it to be a weaker system.
Thank you, Doc. So, Attorney Sophie, I keep on calling you Doc for some reason, but Attorney Sophie, thank you so much. Actually, I wanted to ask Alan one of my prepared questions, but we have like two very interesting questions no galing sa ating audiences at I really want to ask you Dr. Allen about this specifically from Val. So she said that the tobacco industry blames tobacco taxes for illicit trade. From the reports of Stop and AER, we know that this is not true. And you guys know, if you want to read this also, you can see that link doon sa baba, no? And even the QR code sa taas. Dr. Allen, can you expound on why tobacco tax is a win-win solution to not only increase revenue for public health spending, but to also encourage quitting smoking for smokers?
Perfect. Thank you, Val, for that great question. So as the question touches on, there are really kind of two key primary benefits in terms of tobacco taxation. So one of those is revenue generation, and we've already spoke about how that can be really beneficial and positive for society. Part of that is also in terms of addressing then the harms that are caused by these products in terms of the impact on the healthcare system and infrastructure, etc. But the other component is that it's actually a really effective measure to stop people from smoking, which then reduces their risk over time. And this really just comes from how price sensitive smokers have been found to be in terms of effective tobacco taxation. Essentially makes them less likely to continue smoking and more likely to quit. And we know that quitting tobacco, given its addictive nature, an addictiveness that the industry actively has worked to develop and include in its products, it's really challenging for consumers to stop doing that often. And so price is a really important factor in doing that. And that's why we know that certainly at national and global levels that is really impactful and effective for not just raising revenue, but also for actually encouraging and helping people quit smoking.
Thank you. And I think this is also a good question for Jen, maybe, or Pia, if you would like to add also later on, please feel free to do so. Donna asked, how can we empower local communities? So at the end of the day, we need the power of the people. So how can we empower local communities to identify and report the sale of smuggled or counterfeit tobacco? Paano daw sila makikiisa dito sa pagsuplong no sa issue na ito?
Ayan, Von, siguro ako, ang masasabi ko lang, una, yung question kung gusto bang ma-engage ng community or ng young people, definitely, ano na yan, no? Parang given na yan, no? Nakita na natin yan sa Tobacco of Now movement, na parang kahit very unusual yung approach natin sa mga tobacco control na advocacies, kung saan talagang ang goal natin is to expose ang tobacco industry interference, di ba? Pero nakita natin na talagang nung naintindihan ng young people kung ano yung pinaglalaban natin, they rally, di ba, behind that cause. So parang for me, hindi naman question kung gugustuhin nilang ma-engage. Pero I guess parang ang personal ano ko dito is kailangan safety muna, di ba? Parang kailangan natin i-prioritize yung safety natin. So I guess parang it's a challenge for us in the development sector, but most importantly for the government, no, local government and the national government to really create that safe and I guess tangible na way of reporting mechanism, di ba? Kasi kung hahayaan lang natin yung mga young people na mag-report, baka safety naman nila yung maging at risk, di ba? So syempre pwede nila makaaway, let's say mga tindahan o kaya mga smugglers talaga or even the tobacco industry kung sila man talaga yung nag-smuggle ng goods, di ba? So yun, so safety muna. But I guess yung pwede nating gawin ngayon as a way to be involved ay una to promote muna ano ba yung mga red flags. Like parang kailangan mo na aware tayo kasi ako nga parang first time ko naririnig yung about sa tax stamps, about yung mga floor prices, ganyan. So baka we can as young people or even as mga community workers, baka yun muna, like let's promote ano ba yung or let's promote awareness no dun sa mga bagay na yun na parang ano ba yung mga red flag na pwede nating maspatan. And then kung meron tayong mga naspatan, maybe document and record and then try to contact yung mga mga trusted organizations, I guess. So and for young people of course, pwede kayong mag-involve sa mga initiatives katulad na lang ng Tobacco of Now movement na talaga namang nag-a-address or parang at least nag-help mag-address ng mga ganitong issues. Yan.
And Pia, baka you have anything to add with your experience also engaging with the community?
Yes, thank you. I think the main person to go to is really the local government unit. The local government unit and local law enforcers, so yung police, Definitely kung mag-tip ang mga tao sa kanila, that's within their jurisdiction. Pero it's also our call for there to be more coordination within that group. And hopefully, going back to the track and trace system na binring up namin kanina, the ideal one is one where customers can scan the QR codes on the packs themselves to verify whether or not they are tax paid or they are from legitimate, regulated tobacco companies. So siguro yun yung call namin for now.
Ayun. Thank you, Pia and Jen, no? And guys, yung aking pakiusap also no, bilang parte din ng Tobacco Off Now, no? At least for young people who are watching us right now, and even for the young at heart, magbasa tayo, no? So that's the reason why available itong report na ito, no? Yung Complicit in Illicit report is available actually in both English and Tagalog, no, para mas lalo nating maintindihan kung ano nga ba ang nangyayari, no, when it comes to illicit trade sa Pilipinas, bakit ito isang taktika, no, isang form ng tobacco industry interference sa Pilipinas, at hopefully, no, ma-inspire tayo to do something about it together, no. So marami pa namang ways, no, to do that. So you can engage, you can educate, no, you can read, no. Actually, reading is already enough. That means kung natutuhan nyo tong mga to, no, pwede nyong kausapin, no, inyong mga parents, ang inyong mga kaibigan about it. Ano nga bang ibig sabihin ng illicit trade, no? That's another thing na added sa ating vocabulary, no? Parang big word siya, but at the same time, napaka-importante, no, sa ating pang-araw-araw. At before we end, guys, no, I just would like to maybe get your final message to all of our viewers tonight, no? Any call to action, any words of encouragement, anything that you would like them to remember, no? Kung may isa man or one concept or one message that you want them to remember, this is that moment. We can start with Attorney So first. And then
Sa akin, mukhang malinaw naman na the youth knows that the industry is not their friend. Hindi sila nagpapabudol. Sana yung government din, sana yung gobyerno natin hindi nagpapabudol sa industriya. Dapat taasan na yung tax ng tobacco at dapat palakasin pa yung track and trace system natin.
How about you, Pia?
Very good point yung sinabi ni Attorney Sopna na it's really for our government to stand up against these tactics and to really prevent their interference in the policy-making process. No? Just yesterday, there was a long hearing on illicit trade, and the tobacco industry was actually present, and this is their avenue to give themselves, let their voices be heard. So I think the government is really the one with the responsibility to be vigilant against these tactics.
Yes, and to add lang to that, no, I hope our government proves na it is really for the people, especially the young people. Napakalaki ng loss, hindi lamang sa ating ekonomiya, but sa future ng ating country, of course, and even their own families, no, if hindi natin mabigyang pansin itong mga tactics na ito, no, itong tobacco industry interference. And at the same time, nakakadismaya, no, to see na yung mga miyembro ng industriya ay nandoon sa ating mga policy hearings. Naku po, para yan sa ating mga kababayan, para yan sa mga Pilipino. Bakit tayo makikinig doon sa mismong, alam mo yun, yung mga ginagawa nila have impacted the health of our nation, the health of our population for so long. I have to say personally that's very disappointing. And yun, no, but again, let's be vigilant, no? Let's be even more engaging than ever, no, in discussions like this. Ikaw naman, Jen, anong iyong parting message?
Parting message. Na siguro susugan ko lang yung mga sinabi ng mga co-panelists, Von, na syempre yung policies natin, 'di ba? dapat pinoprotektahan tayo, especially yung mga vulnerable, especially yung young people. And kapag ginawa nating accessible yung mga ganitong produkto, mga tobacco and nicotine products, we're actually doing the opposite of that. Kasi we're exposing young people dito sa addiction that can actually steal their future. So I hope our leaders nare-realize nila yon. And siguro just to parang parting words, yung lagi nating sinasabi no sa to back off now to the tobacco industry. So to back off now, back off from our lives, back off from our communities, and definitely back off from our policies.
So back off, tobacco industry, back off from our policies. No. You're not welcome there. And okay, last but not the least, of course, any final message from Dr. Allen to our viewers, to the Filipino youth, and even, to all our stakeholders in the Philippines?
Thanks so much. So on the topic of illicit trade, I would say that tobacco companies have unfortunately had a lot of success in terms of influencing and undermining governments, with governments across the world often partnering with these companies. There's no evidence really that these partnerships are successful, unsurprisingly, and so it's really important that governments don't engage with the industry. And I think the public really has a role to play there in terms of holding governments to account when they fail to do this. And I think that's where kind of activism, public engagement can be really effective, because when governments do work with the industry, this can be pointed out to stop it from happening again. And so I would say for me, a key message is that's really a role that everyone on this call can play, so that governments listen to the people rather than these companies which are not interested in health or well-being.
Thank you, Dr. Allen, for such a very insightful presentation, and at the same time, such commitment to researches like this. No, it really helps us all. It really sheds light on these many important issues that are often overlooked, especially from the perspective of the young people, from the perspective of the general public. And I feel like these are the things that we need to continue discussing. And ayun po no sa ating mga manonood, huwag po tayong matakot no, at the end of the day, tayo po ang boss no, tayo ang dapat pakikinggan ng ating gobyerno, tayo din dapat ang masusunod when it comes to how public health should look like in our country, no? So we can engage. Nandito ang mga organizations like Imagine Law, Action for Economic Reforms, of course, Tobacco Off Now, and the Positive Youth Development Network, amongst many organizations like Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. Napakarami po tayo no, na magtutulong-tulong para ma-ensure no, na healthy ang ating kinabukasan and our young people are protected. Every Filipino is protected from tobacco industry interference and from the effects of illicit trade. So ayun, no, now that we have discussed all of these, kung may mga katanungan kayo, if you have comments, please let us know. We will have a series of content in the coming weeks talking about this, and I hope na you get to share them, you get to engage with them, and I hope na you get to download the report also, read it, no, share it to your friends, to your family members, para sabay-sabay tayong matuto din no, about these things that really affect our everyday lives. At sa ating discussion, ang aking final question, so sino nga ba talaga ang sus? Sino nga ba siya, no? Parang it's up to you to conclude no after this, no? Ating pagnilay-nilayan after this webinar. And again, we request you to read the report and make your own conclusions from these facts, from the evidence. And again, let's stay vigilant. Dapat gising po tayo, no? And let's always remember to protect ourselves, to protect our fellow young people, to protect our community. Because now, the mask is off. Think for yourself when a deadly industry claims to be just a victim. Enough na po, tapos na po tayo sa gaslighting. Ayaw po natin ng gaslighter, ayaw po natin ng manloloko, ayaw po natin ng red flags. And I hope we get to stay vigilant as we protect ourselves and our future. Once again, after this po, you can find the links to the report at Complicit in Illicit Tobacco Industry Interference in the Philippines. Once again, thank you for watching us and for listening to us. I hope may natutuhan po kayo. We're hoping na may natutuhan po kayo sa ating webinar ngayong gabi at hanggang sa susunod. Once again, thank you. This is Juan Tanchuan from the Tobacco Off Now movement. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.